Go. Dance, jigaboo, dance, 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 jigaboo, dance.
There we go. So mics are live. Welcome aboard, everybody. This is Fly in Formation. My name is Doobyis. So Fly in Formation, just as a quick introduction, is an interview series. I've been talking to artists across the country, people whose music I play on after the smoke is clear, and just kind of want to get to learn more about the local scenes that people represent for. So today joining me is Sinzere, Calgary-based artist. Welcome aboard. Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, hell yeah. So you've been doing a lot of music lately. I saw you've got like a new single out. Do you have a new album coming soon, or should we be talking about Tabula Rasa from 2022? Or what's the new music for you?
Well, I mean, I've been releasing new music consistently since the album dropped. Last year, I released a plethora of singles that came out. Electric, Boogie, Big Pimpin'.
Yeah.
I released My Kin top of the year this year. So definitely been consistently releasing music since the album. But yeah, Tabula was my last big project.
Right on. So Tabula Rasa, that's like blank slate, right? I'm getting that translation right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So was that the first project for you, or was it kind of a reset for your artistry, or how'd you get the name Tabula Rasa for it?
Yeah, so I mean, that was my first full-length album. That was my debut. I mean, I'd put out EPs before, I think about 3. And then prior to that, I put out like tons of music, right? Obviously that just, I guess, didn't make DSPs at the time. But Tabula, yeah, it was the clearing of the canvas for me. It was resetting and allowing something new and beautiful and more organic to the artists I was evolving into at that time.
Yeah, so did you feel like before that you were kind of making music that wasn't as authentic to yourself? Because this project, like for a debut, full-length album or whatever, sounds super polished and really, like you're speaking your mind and speaking your soul. Like it's genuine art. A lot of hip hop, I feel like, kind of walks a boundary where it's like more of a product than it is art or whatever. But your stuff, I could definitely tell was like a real representation of, your thoughts and feelings or whatever. Like it was strange to me that it came from Calgary, because it's very revolutionary music to be putting out in Calgary. Did you ever get I don't know, like, is it weird putting out kind of more revolutionary influenced music like that in Calgary?
Well, one thing I'll say is I'll just double back just in regards to my back catalog, and it wasn't that the music I put out in the past wasn't authentic or wasn't true to who I was, because it was true to who I was at that time.
Sure.
I've lived a lot of different lives. And so my music will always speak to whatever I'm going through at that time period. So my music is always a reflection of where I'm at in life. And just in regards to putting out Tabula, I might be from Calgary, but to me, I entered the global arena with that album. It wasn't just, to me, it's not just, Calgary artist putting out this album.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, it was something innovative, just for rap music. It was something different and revolutionary for Black music.
For real.
And so, and I think I'm just a very unique artist that is from Calgary. And so, it was definitely a unique body of work.
For real.
For the times.
Yeah, for real. It reminded me a lot of like it's very, politically motivated, and there's a lot of like, get free kind of talk on it, fight the system type of talk. Like reminded me of like Dead Prez a lot, with the whole like revolutionary but gangster kind of movement or whatever. And like I agree that it's something I love in hip hop, that it allows artists to have that voice and voice those types of opinions. Did you feel like it's missing from hip hop recently?
Yeah. I always think messaging is missing, and obviously we do get it. We do get it to a certain degree from very specific artists. We can name all those artists, right?
Yeah.
But I think from a female rapper in particular, you don't really ever. You're not really getting that introspective kind of vibe unless it's from a Rhapsody. And unfortunately, I don't think Rhapsody gets the
Yeah.
level of recognition that she deserves because of her image being more wholesome, I
Right.
guess. Um, but yeah, it's definitely the motivator for that album was wanting to tell the true story and pure story about my people and about my ancestors. And it wasn't solely based on, the message of hip hop. It really came down to wanting people to understand who African people are,
Yeah.
who what Black culture really is, and it's not what pop culture is in America. It's not how Americans depict Black people, because unfortunately, the way they depict Black people is in a way in a negative light to keep us down and to keep us ignorant, and so the rest of the world has that same outlook. And I find when Black people go a lot of other places in the world, people do have this outlook, that outlook on Black people. So for me, it's just changing the narrative about my people. It was helping to change the narrative and tell the real story of my people.
For real, yeah. To me, like, MCs are supposed to, speak for their community, kind of
Mhm.
bring forth issues like that or whatever that maybe don't get tabled quite as often by some of the more mainstream music or whatever. So I think it's like really powerful to use the elevated voice as an MC to say things that might make people uncomfortable, that might polarize people sometimes, but it's stuff that needs to be said. So personally, props to you for doing it. I
Thank
really
you.
respect your music a lot. I listened through the album again today and was I'd listened to it when it first came out, and I've played a lot of the stuff on Attic, but just listening to it as a whole project again today, I was really like, this is inspirational music, like you really put together a solid body of work that people should check out if they haven't heard it. Do you think it's an MC's responsibility to do that, or what do you feel about kind of some of the bigger acts that don't necessarily bring those issues forward?
I think it's a great travesty. I think we do have a responsibility for the things we say and the energy we put out there, like rapper aside, just as human beings having this human experience, because you have a lot of different people that project a lot of different energy and imagery and messaging, be it whatever medium that they use. And so these things cause and effect. They cause and have effects that a lot of times hurt people. And so, yeah, or perpetuate negativity. And so, yeah, I feel like just everybody in the world has a responsibility for the shit that comes out of their mouth.
For real. Is it ever a challenge to, be bringing up real issues and real talk on your songs, but still have it be, because people don't want to be too bogged down by music, right? People still want to have fun while they're listening to music or whatever. And you definitely, like you mentioned, some singles, Electric and Boogie, specifically rise to my mind, but some of the other ones too, that were very danceable, like super funky. Boogie especially is super funky and like catchy, big, kind of like could be played in a club or whatever, like a party situation kind of deal. And even on those ones, you're bringing up some topics, but is it a conscious effort to make those songs kind of something that'll be a little bit more palatable to the mainstream, to get the message in there, like the spoonful of sugar with the medicine kind of deal?
I love that. For me, it's just about expressing what it is I feel. And I think you said it, people don't want to be bogged down by music, but people are open to hearing the real. And I experienced that with Tabula. I mean, I realized after I recorded that album and we produced it at the National Music Center, I sat with it and I realized how heavy the energy was. And I'd be remiss to say, it didn't cross my mind, is this going to be too heavy for people? But I think who it was supposed to serve and who appreciated it definitely connected to those people, and it's still connecting to people. And I mean, a lot of my listeners were white kids. who had no idea about some of the things I was talking about. And so now I'm educating them. I'm also educating a lot of my own people who are unaware.
For real. Yeah,
And
I mean,
so
I myself picked up some facts about like Harriet Tubman. You know, you said that
uh,
that she made 13 trips or whatever. Like I knew who Harriet Tubman was, but like I didn't know some of the details that you brought up on there. So like, yeah, you're actually dropping gems that people can learn a thing while they're listening to music.
yeah.
And still get their boogie on too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Some of it anyways. But it's interesting to me though, because like I feel like all the other genres have a space in the mainstream created for music that isn't just like catchy pop bops. You know, like Taylor Swift is allowed to sing a serious sad song and have people relate to that and still sell millions of albums or whatever. But like with hip hop, it seems like they just only want to promote kind of the one lane, and people just want to hear about like the glamour and like you know, or gangster lifestyles or whatever, right? But yeah, it's I think it's important for people like yourself to be making that lane, and I think a lot of artists do, but it's just tough to achieve the crossover where you can get more people listening to it, right? So
well, you have to sorry to cut you off. You have to think about it. When we think about mainstream, we think about who is in control of mainstream media. I think historically the you know, powers that be that are in control of mainstream media also want to control the perception of Black people and keep them in a certain position in a certain place. See, slavery never died. Yeah, it just changed its name, and that name is mass incarceration.
I was just
and police brutality, right? And so I think the Black experience it's unique to us, and they use pop culture as a means. Like, don't get it twisted. Rap music has saved a lot of lives, has created generational wealth. It's done all these amazing things, right? It was birthed out of oppression, right? It was birthed it started with b-boys and breakdancing. That's how hip hop came into fruition, right? There was b-boys, and the b-boys would dance. And eventually it led to MCing, and MCing led to what we lyrical rap. And by the time you get to Rakim, and by the time you get from Rakim to J. Cole to Kendrick, people are telling stories, right, about the Black experience. And so when they realized, the powers that be realized how influential hip hop was, because there's a point in time when hip hop was the most influential genre of music, highest selling genre of music. I think that may have changed in current times.
Yeah, I don't think it's highest selling anymore, but I'd still make the argument for most influential. I mean,
but that is also due to the powers that be taking control of what the masses are hearing and watering down the sound and demonizing the music, right? Because they'll tell you hip hop music is very violent, rap music is very violent right now, trap, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Right. It's very violent right now, but there's a reason for that. There's a reason why there isn't 9 J. Coles or 9 Kendrick Lamars, you know, or me or whatever on a more amplified level. It's not impossible either. I think it has to be the right artist that has the ability to walk that line where you're not going to Common someone to death, though I love Common, super conscious, right? And there's a place for that, right? But you have to be able to walk that fine line to speak the language of the times and still be able to give people some gems, some game.
Definitely, yeah. So this is something that I kind of wanted to lead with a little bit, and if you don't have an answer for it now, maybe we could come back to it. It takes people off guard when I ask them this, but it really is just a wide open door to say anything you'd like. But if you could change one thing, big or small, in the world, what would it be? And I feel like, you know, you rap about a lot of changes that need to be made, so it was a question I wanted to put to you. Just is there any one aspect that you would change? Because that whole gatekeeper thing in the industry has been talked about a lot, and you know, I feel like you're kind of rallying against that whole thing. But it's a big question. But
one thing I could change in the world,
anything at all, could be big, could be small.
I would say I would change the how people see love and perceive it. I think, one, people don't see it at all. People don't care about what it truly means to have compassion and empathy for your fellow brother and sister in life, right? Whether they're black, brown, yellow, red, I don't care, right? I think the world, it's unprecedented how numb the world is to the pain and the trauma of the collective mind, the collective human mind. And I think love is definitely something that the world is heavily deprived of. So if I can change one thing, to hit that switch.
Yeah.
In every brain.
More love, more compassion, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great answer. So another thing I like to ask people about is kind of the process of how they actually put the music together. So can we talk about like what your recording process looks like? Like you said you recorded it at the National, what was it again? The National Music Association?
Yeah, so Studio Bell, and here in Calgary we have the National Music Center, Studio Bell. So it's like home to like some of the most iconic instruments that like people like Stevie Wonder have used, and like the Rolling Stones. And it's like it's a music museum. And so they have like the Canadian Hall of Fame. They have like different things in there, and they have studios in there that you can record in, and all sorts of cool things. But I'd say it's probably the best studio in Calgary. So I had the pleasure of working with Graham Lassard, who I think is their senior engineer at the time, and also Eric Cinnamon, who's pretty well known in the industry. He's worked with a lot of cool artists, and so it was just essentially what ends up happening is I have the production and I have the lyrics prior to going into the studio.
Sure. Did you have the entire album written out before you went in?
Yeah, so what we build upon is all the little nuances, you know what I mean? The mixing, how we want things to feel, how we want things to sound, the emphasis we want to put on, you know, if it's a lyric or, you know, whatever energies we want to add additionally and above and beyond that, and how we want it to sound and how we want it to feel. And I actually had this conversation today. I was a part of a networking panel, and I was explaining to a songwriter that, you know, most people, they will come up with a melody first and then they'll put lyrics to the melody, or vice versa. Whereas me, it happens simultaneously. So as I'm writing the lyric, the melody is there for me, which I think is kind of unique to me.
Right.
So that's essentially the process.
Nice. So when you were in there recording, you've got everything already planned out. Did you choose the beats over a course of, like, you know, a year leading up to it, or were the beats kind of collected on the fly to put the album together specifically? Like, I know some artists just kind of have a vault of music that they're you know, keeping at all times.
Yeah, I mean, for me, no, it was the inception of the album came months prior. Maybe I want to say months prior, maybe 7 months prior. And I heard these pieces sonically, and I just fell in love with them. And sonically, it told a story, and it was so intense, the emotion of the sonics of, you know, these beats, that essentially I knew what I wanted to say. I mean, I was at a crucial point on my journey as well, because I was at that point where I'm like, I don't know what direction I want to go in. And I just think I was evolving into who I am now, which is just a more authentic version of myself. And I've been doing a lot of studying the year and a half prior, leading up, a couple of years prior. I was learning a lot about my history and unlearning what I've learned about my history, and learning about the history of the world, and learning about other people's history, other nations' histories as well, and then how those nations' histories directly impacted or affected the history of my people. And I learned about the impact that America has had on African history, and there's just so much. There was just so much, and so it was a beautiful. I always say it was a beautiful, painful journey, learning the things that my people were going through and still going through. And so that's really what inspired the record. And I mean, I did speak on Burnt Bridges. I spoke about something, you know, extremely personal to me, and it was just
it was about your sister, right?
my strange sister at the time, who, we grew up very close, and then one day I woke up and she was just gone. She just wasn't there. And I mean, thank God everything is good now. We're healing
Ah,
in present time. So that's
yes.
glory to God. But yeah, I touched on some things I think that were unique. I don't hear enough people talk about like what it's like being at odds with someone you love like that, with like your own sibling
Right.
and
Actually,
your own.
as I was listening to that track today, actually, I was wondering, like, is this called
Mm.
Burnt Bridges? Because as you wrote this, you thought that that might be burning a bridge. Like, were you questioning whether this would kind of further, estrange the situation?
Absolutely. I thought, well, is she gonna hear this and think, wow, like, one, this is public, like, you know what I mean? Will she not forgive me?
For real.
And but it's also like, these are the bridges you burned, along your journey, of evolving and going through what she was going through. And at the time I was caught up in it all. So I never took the time to understand that her experiences are just her experiences, and that's what she's experiencing, because I was bogged down by my own hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
So
powerful song.
thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there if you had more to say about that.
Good.
But
No, you
yeah,
good.
okay.
I'm done.
Okay. Sometimes Zoom makes it tough with cutting one another off, but never feel bad if I'm rambling. Feel free to cut me off. But another question I've been asking a lot of different artists and getting interesting answers
Mhm.
from. Do you get more fulfillment on stage or in studio? Because I've seen you on quite a few different show bills lately, but the music is so personal and kind of cerebral, I guess might be a word I could use for it, that it's really
Mhm.
something to think on. That it made me wonder, like, is
Mhm.
writing it the cathartic release that kind of is more rewarding, or is being on stage actually performing it for people the bigger draw?
Yeah, I personally, you can't compare the two.
Yeah,
It's two different worlds. It's like me going to Jamaica and then me going to Atlanta. I think both places are unique and beautiful and offer a form of release, and offer something unique to those spaces. And so I can't compare the two. It's like when people ask me who's your top five,
yeah,
and I say my top five. I'm like, don't you think that's a little disrespectful to every single rapper that's contributed something to
for real.
rap music?
Yeah.
And so I just think yeah, I don't know. I love both processes.
Another question that I have jotted down to ask a couple from now is there a best rapper alive? And if so, who is it? I get all sorts of different answers
Um,
on that one. And
no,
yeah, you kind of just
no,
answered, but yeah,
no, and it's so weird. It's like, okay, for instance, Drake can be very lyrical, right?
sure.
We know he can be a lot of other things, but at the core of him, when he came to the game, he's
Yeah,
very lyrical, very witty. But it's like, am I going to compare Drake to Eminem? That's weird.
yeah.
They're from. Am I gonna compare Eminem to a Busta Rhymes?
I agree completely. This is exactly how I feel. I feel like it's art. There's no best, and different songs, different artists have different places where their music is best for, or that song might be the best at this
Hmm.
moment, but at any given time I'd give you a different top five, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. How about this? Do you think about who your target audience is? You ever, like, when you're
Mm.
sitting down to write music, is that a thought? Because online they tell us it should be, but I feel like a lot of
Hmm.
genuine art is made and people aren't really thinking about who am I going to give this to afterwards.
Yeah. I can say, honestly, it's crucial for an artist who's, looking to step into the arena, not just artistically, but also from the business standpoint. I think you have to know who your demo is. You have to know who you're targeting, or else you're not going to get very far.
Yeah.
But ultimately, no. I mean, I make what I feel, and it's funny. I was talking to my manager today, and he was like, you have a lot of, like, you kill it. You kill it in so many different arenas. But if you could pick one, what would it be, right? Because we need it needs to be concise, and it needs to be digestible, whatever it is you do, right? And
Right.
people need to be able to focus on one initial thing. And then from there, you could be Tyler the Creator. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do. If you want to sing, if you want to rap,
once you're in the
dance.
door, you can expand a little bit more for sure.
Yeah.
So along those lines, like that's a very commercial, management point of view on it. Did you have any answer for that? Are you trying to fit into one position or the other that way?
Well, I mean, like I said, I make what I feel. I think I make what I feel. Do I hope it resonates? I hope it resonates with everybody, but it can't be like that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, a tabula was really, I made it for my people, but I made it for people as well as a means to educate people and elevate and uplift people. And so, yeah. So nice. I think, yeah.
Right on. Has there been any specific like event or experience that kind of you would say you're most grateful for as an opportunity in music so far?
Oh God, that question is.
It's now big. That I have some of these are big, but they make for fun answers, open-ended answers,
You know what? There's so many accolades I could choose from, but honestly, if I could choose one, I would say it was going through artist development.
Yeah.
I think spending 2 years developing as an artist, and I'm always developing, right? It never ends, right? But spending those 2 years really in a studio, just writing record after record after record after record, and developing. And
can I ask, like, was that an artist development grant? Because I've seen the list of factor grants or whatever that go out every year, and I didn't notice your name being on it specifically or anything, but I've seen people get like artist development grants. Is that kind of what you're talking about with like the 2 years of artist development or whatever?
No, this wasn't connected to factor in any kind of way, and it was back in maybe 2018.
Okay.
2018, and I had done it through a reputable studio out here during that time, and the owner just seen something in me and wanted to build with me, and so I worked there with some of the students that were also on their development journeys, and I learned a lot. I wrote a lot, and I performed a lot, and learned a lot of lessons about the business, learned a lot of lessons about people trying to control your likeness and control you and control your brand, and learned a lot of
that likeness thing is getting scarier and scarier with AI.
Oh shit! Yeah. Is it ever?
We got to be careful, or Drake will pretend to be us on a record.
Can you imagine,
dude?
It's getting crazy.
I can't believe that he did that to Snoop. Honestly, like to Tupac, nobody's. Tupac is one thing. You're messing with a legend, but like to do it to a guy who's like out walking around, I don't know. I haven't seen Snoop comment on it. I don't really need a comment from it. That's just the hot topic of the day that popped into my head or whatever. But yeah, definitely crazy. Can I ask what you've been listening to lately? You listen to a lot of music?
Yeah. My musical palette is very flavorful and jumping. I fucking love Rima. I love Heated by Beyonce. I love Benny the Butcher. I love Tyler the Creator. It's my top. Fuck with J. Cole. Fuck with certain things from Drake. I fuck with Doja Cat. I think she is, in terms of like rap, I think a lot of her shit goes over people's head because of she's all these antics, but I think lyrically not a lot of people can fuck with her. The fact that she can sing as well is phenomenal to me. I think she's phenomenal. I love Chronix out of Jamaica, out of Spanish Town. I think he is so unique and so talented, and he has such a beautiful voice, and his pen is crazy. I fuck with Nesta, who does like reggae trap. He's like reggae trap sort of vibe. Love his music, good energy. Love her. She's an R&B singer. Phenomenal. Absol. Love Absol.
Yeah.
Love Kendrick. I listen to Michael Jackson, James Brown, the Mary Jane Girls.
So really all over the board, back to classics and all genres. Yeah, dope.
To tell in my music.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
for real. Yeah. Well, and that's the beauty of hip hop is it is taking from all, all sources and rolling it into one or whatever. So
Absolutely.
it makes sense that artists tell me that. But this is a question I like asking people. How successful are you trying to be? What does success look like for you as an artist?
Mm. That changes year to year for me, but I think I'm living in my success. I think the things I've been able to accomplish, especially being from a place as small as Calgary, like just coming back from Estonia and connecting to the culture out there and being able to do some amazing things and creating unique, amazing relationships. I think I'm a bit of a unicorn. So I think success is ongoing. I think there are always going to be levels that we want to reach, higher levels. But I never let that cloud, the experiences I'm having, because there was a time when I couldn't celebrate my success.
Yeah.
I wouldn't allow myself to. And you'll hear most artists say that. It's complex, but
no, it's important to feel the wins though. Like it's easy to feel all the criticism or the failures or whatever sometimes, but artists have to allow themselves to feel those wins, or it's a thankless industry to be in, I think,
Yeah.
So these can be a little bit more rapid fire. That's kind of a segment where I ask how important is this or how important is that.
Okay.
And you can either answer like, on a scale, or the other thing is answer whether you want to answer for yourself personally, or some MCs have answered these questions like as though they're giving advice to younger MCs. So either way you want to do this. But how important is a good stage show?
Oh my gosh, without it, you can only survive for so long. We're seeing that with a lot of these new generation rappers. They cannot perform. It is embarrassing. It's of the utmost importance. It's how you separate yourself from the pack. For
real, yeah. We kind of touched on this with like you mentioning Calgary being a small market. And, I go back and forth on trying to decide whether it's good to be like big fish in small pond, or whether it would be better to be a small fish in some American pond somewhere or whatever, right? But it's how important is an artist's physical location?
I think it depends. I think nowadays, because we have the internet and you have access to people you would never have access to otherwise, unless you directly went to those physical locations, it does create more opportunity via the internet. But then there's being in any state in America as a rapper. I mean, it's going to expedite the process no matter what. Alberta's very folky, very country, and so I think for the level of success that rappers are experiencing here is beautiful to see now. But I think it's still those opportunities. We're all fighting. When we're here, we're fighting for the same opportunities, and it creates a weird energy within the hip hop community.
For real, yeah. So, people tend to be really cliquey and support like their best homies, but maybe not put so much like
or really fake,
other people,
or just fake.
Yeah, true enough, for real. How important is getting grants?
Oh my God. Listen, because we are fortunate enough to live here on Treaty 7 territory and land and in Canada, abroad, because we're here and take advantage of those grants. Yeah. Whether you're a business manager, whether you're running your own label, I don't care what it is. There are showcase grants, there are tour grants, there are grants to support your album, there are grants to support your artistic development. It is money from the government to help you elevate what you are doing. Why wouldn't you take that?
Yeah, that's a great answer. I get that pretty much same answer verbatim from everybody I ask it to, but I keep saying it because I feel like if there are artists tuning in for tips on these things, that's a big one. If you're a Canadian artist, you should be tapping in. How important is... Well, this is fun right now. How important is it to be able to write a good diss track? Is that an important element for an MC to have?
Not fucking for me. If you could diss me, you're never going to get a response. Some people, whatever floats your boat. Hopefully you can rap, though. Yeah. If you're going to respond, don't be like Chris Brown and Quavo, because Chris Brown, he's a singer, but he can rap his ass off. Yeah. Quavo's a rapper who got killed by a singer. So...
Yeah, yeah, that happened. I will agree on that verdict for sure. Um, how important is having a DJ for your stage show?
Oh shit. Okay. Well, I perform with my band.
Oh, okay.
For a lot of the shows that I do, I have a four-piece band. So when I have my band, it's me and the fucking band.
Yeah,
If it's me and the DJ, it is crucial for that DJ to know what the fuck they're doing up on that stage.
yeah.
It
Well,
makes the
and
difference.
know the material a little bit, know the artist they're working with.
Yeah,
That goes a long ways. Yeah,
exactly.
tough to just hand the random DJ the USB and hope fate has you covered.
Plug and play. Plug and play.
Yeah, right. Um, how important is it to open for big name rappers when they come through town?
I think when you're, I think when you're an artist that's emerging, when you're developing, and when you're in it, to get those sorts of looks, I think it's very important because it helps put you in front of a crowd that not necessarily may know who you are,
Yeah,
but it gives you a chance and an opportunity to tap into somebody else's crowd and kind of gauge where you're at, what level you're at, and it also creates opportunity. If you show up and understand the assignment and you take advantage of the assignment and you don't leave any crumbs on the table, it could potentially change your life depending on who's in that room.
real. Um, how's about? Well, you mentioned your manager. How important is it to have a manager as an independent artist?
I think it depends on where you're at, what stage you're at in your career. It depends on, are you just getting started? Are you making music out of your bedroom? Are you making music with your homies? Because I don't think you need a manager at that point.
Right.
But if you're making music independently, you're gaining a lot of traction. You're starting to see different opportunities come in. People are starting to fly you out different places. I would definitely think you would need a manager at that point.
Yeah, for real. How about paid advertising? How important is that?
I think we're just living in times where you got to do it. I mean, a lot of people hate it. To me, it really felt inorganic for a lot. It just feels inorganic. You'd be like, I have to pay for someone to like this or see, but essentially you're paying for the exposure.
Yeah,
And just there's so much noise online that if your shit is really that good, you got to do it if you want people to hear it.
I like
Got to
that.
be part of the plan.
Yeah, for real. How about an MC's fashion? How important is that? Especially
Their look,
from a female MC's perspective. This is an interesting question.
so
Yeah,
like their look,
the
their image.
look, and yeah, image kind of all rolls into fashion for sure. Yeah,
Do you know who Elvis is?
yeah, I've
Do
heard
you
that
know?
name once or twice. Yeah,
Okay, so you know what Elvis looks like.
yeah.
You can, as soon as I say his name, you can actually see what he looks like.
I mean, yeah, I'm
What?
picturing him in a full white leather jumpsuit of some sort. Yeah.
Okay, what about Elton John?
Yeah, yeah, I can picture Elton John and his glasses, and it's probably some type of suit or something. Yeah,
Absolutely. And then you think about it, maybe a Doja Cat or Tyler the Creator.
yeah,
These artists are Tierra Whack,
right.
Missy Elliott. You know, these artists are Parliament Funk. Like these artists,
Yeah,
you say their name, you instantly see them.
yeah.
The biggest artists in the world, the Black Eyed Peas.
Are they the biggest
You
artist
too.
in the world?
Well, no, at one point in
Oh,
time.
I
but
see. Okay, yeah, okay, they're
the
up
Black
there,
Eyed Peas.
anyways. Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
I mean, they're. I mean, right now they might not be as relevant as they once were, but I mean, look at their image.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, all the projects they dropped, all the looks they served on those projects. I mean, it's Britney Spears,
yeah,
Justin Timberlake. As even though he might have just wore a button down with a blazer and some jeans and some sneaks,
yeah.
you knew it was Justin. So yeah, absolutely. Image is so important.
Develop some sort of signature look. I've heard it said you'll sell more copies with your image than you will with your sound, which
100%.
to me is a sad state for music to be in, but it might be true. It might be true. Yeah.
Definitely is. It definitely is. Yeah.
For real, right? How important is listening to and knowing kind of the legends of hip hop?
Oh my God. It's something that it's so crucial in order to sustain the longevity of hip hop. And unfortunately, the elder statesmen are failing in that department. And the younger generation just does not give a fuck. I
Yeah,
mean, some of them do, but some of them are like, you're old now. You don't care.
yeah.
And I think it's a great travesty because when you look at rock, any other genre, they pay so much homage to who came before them. And even, they'll sample, like, who sampled Tracy Chapman the other day? I can't remember.
I feel like somebody just remade her entire track, didn't they? Wasn't there
Yes.
like a Tracy Chapman full-on just remake of Fast Car fairly recently? Yeah.
Yes, I can't remember the dude's name, but it went number one. She went number one again.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the importance of understanding. Well, that's the disconnect. Because trap music and rap music is so violent now. It's because it doesn't remember where it came from.
Right.
Right. It doesn't remember the roots of what it was. Not that we can't make like not even just that. We had niggas with attitude. We had NWA.
True. Yeah.
Like they had fucking machine artillery. They had guns at their shows. Like, but you have to recognize what they were saying and how authentic and pure it was. They weren't going out of their way to be gangbangers.
Right. Yeah.
Right. They weren't Joe Schmo from the suburbs who's like, I got to be a gangbanger to be relevant. And granted, it's not like that for all of them, but for the majority of them, we have kids that are fucking from the suburbs of Toronto. The suburbs.
Yep.
Safe neighborhoods on some trap shit. And it's like really weird, but if that disconnect from the origins of what rap music truly is it's the cause for that, right? We don't know where we came from. We don't know where we're going.
Yeah. People should definitely be tapped into the roots. I would agree with you on that one. This is interesting because I feel like your music does have a political lean to it. Some MCs look at me like I'm crazy when I ask them this question, but how important is an MC's political leaning?
I think for that MC as a person, it's important. Rappers are reporters. We report on shit that's going on. That's where the shit started.
Yeah. Chuck D and the CNN of the streets, right?
Absolute public enemy. Like they're, to me, the best that ever did it in that lane, to be honest. But we're also living in a time where it's such a sensitive time, and things are so I don't know, for a lot of rappers, they're just like, it's not worth it to them.
I think a lot of people want the mainstream appeal, and to gain that mainstream appeal, they tell you not to do polarizing things and not to push away, that if you say something political, you're going to push away 50% of the audience just like that. So I think that scares a lot of people from saying the thing or whatever. But this is another thing I kind of like to kick around, but like, do you think that hip hop has an inherent political leaning? Like, is it left or right inherently? Because to me, it's a progressive movement. But then I look at the mainstream of it a lot and I'm like, maybe it's fucking not. I don't know. Like, but my understanding of it is, would you agree on that?
Honestly, it's not left or right, but hip hop is the voice for the people who aren't heard. It's always been the voice for the meek. It's always been the voice for the poor. And it's always been the voice for those who can't speak. And so if that's political, I guess it's political because the governing people and parties are the reason for the conditions these poor people live in, right?
Yeah, sometimes some of those politicians are trying to actively silence some of those voices or whatever, right?
Well, no, they look at Tupac, look at all of our heroes, and not just Tupac. Look at Martin Luther King. That was a man who said nonviolence, nonviolence, and he was shot by a fucking gun.
Yeah.
They shot him down. So I think for us as Black people, our leaders that actually speak on these things, like Tupac, they're so influential and their voice is so loud, and so they're like, they control too many people and have too much of an influence, and they kill them. Right? J. Edgar Hoover's sole purpose, the reason why they used him to create the FBI, was to specifically target Black leaders. Leaders, I remind you, that were fighting for the freedoms, for the people to just be seen as human.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and so to break apart those movements, so infighting into them, and
I mean, but I would argue though that political type records, they can exist on the main stage, because I think of Childish Gambino and This Is America.
Right.
If done in the right way, it takes, like I said, you got to walk a very fine line.
Yeah, and there's something to be said, like we mentioned before, that once you're in the door, you get a little bit more leeway to stand
Yeah,
up and say what you really want to say too.
true.
Yeah, a little bit more room to move there. Um, so this has been a great talk. I'm enjoying
Yeah.
picking your brain on some of these issues here. Something
Hmm.
I do ask everybody to do before we wrap this up is, can you describe the local Calgary hip hop scene?
I'll be honest with you, and so interesting. I had this conversation early. I'm not really in it. Um, the last time I performed in Calgary would have been last year, last summer.
Okay.
So I know there is a lot of emerging talent, um, and all sorts of Afrobeat artists. A lot of Afrobeat artists. Um, a lot of we've always had great soul singers. Great soul singers. I think in terms of rap music, it's I, I don't know. It's evolving.
Fair enough. Yeah. Do you know anything about the Edmonton scene? I've always I came from the Edmonton scene. I'm in Lethbridge now, but I lived in Edmonton for 12 years. So most of the people I know in the Alberta hip hop scene are from up north in
Edmonton.
Edmonton. Yeah. And I always, like, living up there, looked at the Calgary scene and was just like, it's so much smaller, and like, there's not as much coming out. But it might have just been the city versus city rivalry or whatever. But I've seen you perform, I think, in Edmonton, right? Like, you were up there
Yeah.
performing with Arlo Maverick recently, and well,
Yep.
somewhat recently, anyways. Yeah. Any comparison between the two scenes? Do you think one is stronger than the other?
I think they're getting mixy. I think you see a lot of Edmonton people in Calgary, and you see a lot of Calgary people going to Edmonton. It's mixy, and I don't
For
see
real.
the difference in the two. To me, it's the same shit. You're
Yeah.
3 hours away. It can't be that different.
Yeah, as I've got
I think-
older, I think it's less a rivalry and more just, yeah, disconnected people or whatever. Really.
I mean, I know the hockey team thing is a serious rivalry. I know the Flames
Sure.
versus the Oilers. I mean, the Oilers won last night, so congratulations to y'all. But I don't know. I think in this rivalry people speak of, I maybe I'm not in tune. It really.
I think maybe hip hop transcends it because there's so few people making hip hop in Alberta that, it's going to be us six versus you six. Like, it just seems a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that in rap, and that's why I won't lie to you. I tried to kind of stay out of the way. I don't like the clicky shit. I don't like feeling like I have to choose. I don't like feeling like if I talk to this person, can I talk to that person? So I'd rather not to talk to none of y'all.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just how I feel.
Word.
And Arlo Maverick, specifically, Arlo Maverick is someone who is near and dear to me, and he's just beyond like just rap music and artistry. I think he's a very special person and unique individual who's doing a lot in his community.
I was just going to say, big on supporting community and helping other people
Yeah.
out, and
Yeah.
teaching people how to write grants and all those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a gem in the
wears
community
many-
for sure.
He wears many hats.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hats I can't wear.
Can I ask you, are there any local artists who you can name? Or, I mean, if you're not familiar enough with Calgary, maybe widen it out to all of the country or whatever. But are there
Well, I'll
Canadian
say
artists
this.
on your radar? People should
There's
check
a
out?
lot of emerging acts coming from the city. I would say look at what's going on in the scene in Calgary. Look at the shows and the events coming up, and keep your ear to the streets. And I think same with Edmonton. There's a lot of emerging talent coming out all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be so honest. I do not listen to rappers from Alberta. I don't.
Yeah.
And I used to not want to say it because I didn't want to hurt no one's feelings, but it's just the truth. I don't listen to rappers from Alberta because I just don't.
Yeah, so my truth is, before I started doing After the Smoke is Clear 5 years ago, if somebody said, here's a Canadian hip hop show, I would have just been like, I don't really want to listen to that. I want to listen to the American guys who, like, I know and like are really being pushed, that are the forefront of rap or whatever. And after doing, like, I play an hour worth of independent Canadian artists, new release stuff every week on ATSIC, and like, after doing it for 5 years and getting more and more tapped in, the amount of talent that's really out there across the country is just astronomical. There's so many good artists in every little city, and they all have their pocket of supporters. But it's just, how do we get people, and I had to question myself, like, if I as like an artist myself and a guy who really loves
Yeah.
hip hop, breathes hip hop, if I wasn't trying to fuck with Canadian hip hop, like how can I expect anybody else to? So it's become like this struggle as I try to promote, you know, Fly in Formation and After the Smoke is Clear, is like, I want to say, hey, this I play pretty much exclusively Canadian content, but I feel like that makes people go the other direction, you know. So it should be a selling point, but it feels like maybe it's not, you know. So it's a tough one where like, how do we as Canadian artists get anybody to listen to each other, you know?
Calgary specifically, and watching the scene grow and evolve, whenever certain shows, whenever there was an opportunity to amplify an artist that can actually compete in an international arena, not just, hey, bros from the city, so they deserve to be heard or seen, because that's not what it is for a lot of these artists. And I don't care how anybody feels. A lot of these artists need to develop. A lot of these artists need to find their own voice. They need to find their own image, and they just don't take it as seriously. They just think that they can step into rap and I'm a rapper. And I think a lot of times, just over the years, we've had a lot of cornballs put up on the main stage to represent Calgary, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but now I will say there are, in this day and age right now, there are different artists from Calgary that are emerging, and they're emerging onto the international stages. Right. So I think it depends on what you're talking about. Like, there are a lot of artists from, I guess, the province in general that are doing great things. You understand, that are trying to change that narrative.
Yeah.
And so it's just,
I'm going to go ahead and blame promoters for it, because I agree with you. There's over the years, I've seen a lot of people who don't deserve to be on the stage opening for so-and-so when they come through. Right. Or, you know, just out there getting the opportunities, getting even grants and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, this might not be the best representation that they could have chose for the scene. And I feel like that has scared me away from wanting to listen to like Canadian hip hop. Right. Like, but when you really start digging, and that was another reason I wanted to start interviewing people, was to ask, like, who do you know in your community who's dope? Because the dope motherfuckers know other dope artists, right? Like, so I've really managed to kind of like knock on a lot of doors and make a lot of networking connections through just kind of tapping into new artists' music and finding the people I like and trying to connect with them, and then expanding from there. You know, so it's been a constant grind, but I'll send you a link to After the Smoke is Clear if you need an hour worth of listening. You know, I do my best to only play stuff that like I feel like other MCs are actually going to appreciate hearing, because I agree with you, there's a level of talent that needs to be reached before it's worth trying to promote it to a national or international audience, right?
You have to understand, if I'm listening to Kendrick Lamar and I'm listening to J. Cole, right? If I'm listening to Earth Gang and I'm listening to Tyler the Creator, the level of production, the level of storytelling, the level of creativity to their craft, the level of lyricism, I'm going to compare everything that I listen to, including myself, to that level of rapper.
Well, and you're one who I would say and promote to other artists as, that's why I play your stuff, because I heard you and I was like, holy shit, it's another dope person in Calgary, you know?
I just can't listen to mediocre artists. I'm not going to do it just to show that I support my city, or I'm not doing it. If I think you're ass, I don't listen to your music.
Say it.
And if that hurts your feelings, I expect it to, because I expect you to get angry and want to go hone your craft and get fucking better.
And get better or get out of the way, right? One or the other,
Well, I can't tell you that, right? I can't tell you that, right? But it's like, get better. You're representing the city. I take Calgary very seriously. And we have Tegan and Sarah. Like Tegan and Sarah
big
from
international.
Calgary. Huge. But they never fucking say that.
And they're out there making political statements at the Junos and shit too. I loved it.
So it's like it shows you that we've always had a level of we have producers and engineers that have won Grammys from Calgary that people don't know nothing about. So I think there's talent emerging. Like I said, there's talent emerging, and you just got to keep your ear to the streets. And
when I talked to Fresh Kills, he told me the story of a guy from Edmonton who was the original Weekend, who now has been replaced by the weekend that we all see on TV or whatever. But yeah, that the original weekend was a dude from Edmonton or Edmonton area. He said, anyways. So
I think I've heard of him. I can't remember his name, but he was really successful. He signed a major label deal, and then they dropped him.
yeah, something along those lines. Kills kind of filled me in on how that went about or whatever, and like it seems like it was a mutual thing that just was shiesty industry politics or whatever, and you know the whole
that sucks.
industry rule 4080 or whatever came into effect, and yeah,
that sucks though. That sucks though. But yeah, no, Edmonton specifically too, they're a little different than Calgary that way, where they have like they have roots in Canadian hip hop that are a little deeper than like Calgary. Like they have like b-boys, and they have like DJs, and they have like hip hop artists that were actually like a part of the Canadian hip hop scene growing with like Cardinal Official and like Classified, and that, you know, from what I've learned anyway. So I mean, I don't know. It's
Maximum Definitive was a OG Edmonton group that I've heard of.
There's someone I need to pay homage to from Calgary that has contributed to the scene, and that unfortunately has transitioned. And I want to take this time to pay homage to Dean Clark. Dean Clark, who was a producer, who was a DJ, who's contributed so much to the community artistically. And I just want to shout out to Dean Clark.
Dean Clark. So he was a Calgary-based producer. That's a new name for me. So thanks for
Calgary-based producer, DJ, and unfortunately he's transitioned into the spiritual world. But he's someone who he's contributed so much to so many different generations, and was really a beacon of light and a pillar, a foundation for sure for hip hop.
Yeah, that's big. One of the other goals here is to, you know, give people their flowers and spread the love for, you know, artists who make those contributions. So yeah, thanks for bringing up Dean Clark. Any plans that we can tell people about coming up to do tours or shows or anything else to promote, to watch out for?
Oh shit, man. Okay, let's see. This Saturday and Sunday, I will be supporting the Beatnuts on the Alberta leg of their tour. Calgary will be at Commonwealth on the 27th.
Nice.
It is an early show, so try to get there. The 28th, we're in Edmonton at the Rec Room South.
Have you done a venue as big as Commonwealth before? That's dope.
Yeah, I've done Commonwealth. Yeah.
Nice.
And then the end of May to early June, we will be in Amsterdam for New School Rules. Then we are in Toronto at the Drake on June 15th for North by Northeast. We'll be in Kelowna for the Pony Cabaret in June as well. July, we are at Le Festive de Saint Paul. That's in Quebec. We will be in Brazil in August for the Coma Festival. So a lot of bouncing around, a lot of...
Yeah. You sound busy, and I'm impressed that you managed to rattle all that off the top of the head. If you weren't reading that off of a sheet or something, that's impressive. So what's the best way for people to support you or other artists that they like?
Yeah, like honestly, just if you're ever interested in connecting with me, just Sinzere official on all platforms. That's SINZERE official on all platforms. Super easy. If you're looking for artists who are from Calgary, they are everywhere. There are different platforms that you can go to, whether it be on Facebook or whether it be on Instagram, whether it be under hashtags. There's a lot of great talent here. And same thing with the whole province, really.
For real. So online support though, like a lot of artists tell me, you know, buy merch or whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, I have my website, www.sinzereofficial.com. I have a store up there. I have a lot of cool merch. You can go up there and grab yourself something special. I also have all the updates for my shows up there, so you can stay connected with me. And
beautiful. Yeah, people should definitely tap in. Very talented MC. Thank you for doing this today.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you a lot. And yeah, it's been fun talking. Nice to meet you.
No, pleasure's all mine. Thank you for doing what you do. We need more individuals like you who are, you know, fighting for our voices. And honestly, I greatly appreciate what you do as well.
Hell yes. Oh, and let me add, for people out there, support your college radio. College radio in Alberta right now is on the brink of going under. They're cutting funding for college radio.
Oh my gosh, yes, support.
Yeah, do what you can to help out college radio, and when they're doing their fun
Yes.
drives, support. But yeah,
I can't believe that, actually. That's a whole nother conversation that
it
just
really
stresses
made
me.
me sad. I had to look it up and like see if I was right, that because I had just heard kind of whisperings that the Edmonton one, CJSR, I believe,
Yeah.
is like really about to go under, and they were asking people to like write their not MLAs, their MPs, and ask the federal government to increase funding to college radios and stuff. So hopefully that goes through. But yeah, people should
Yeah.
look into that. That's on the CJSR site. Yeah. Thanks a
Yes,
lot,
please
Sincere.
support.
Didn't
Yeah,
mean
thank
to
you so much.
hijack that last little
No,
bit
that's
there.
okay. That's okay. I'm glad you stated that, because college radio is so important for even artists like me. It's the first time I ever heard myself on the radio. We need them. So support in any way that you can.
For real. Thanks a lot for doing this. Have a good night.
Pleasure. You too.
All right, everybody. So, yeah, if you want to support the show, Doobyis.com is the hub for everything that I do. I appreciate people coming through and chat. Yeah, that's a great way to show support, coming through and chat. Build the community over here, saying hi to one another, and it's always good to see people in chat. I appreciate y'all. If you're looking to watch more of these interviews, I do a new one every Tuesday. I'm booked all the way till the end of May right now. Next week, I'm talking to Z the Free. That'll be April 30th. She's back and forth from Saskatoon to Calgary. I'm not exactly sure which of those cities she's based in, but it's one or the other. May 7th, I talked to Shark PSOB. May 14th, I talked to Kits Willman. May 21st, I talked to JRoberts. And May 28th, I'm talking to Roshin. So a few Toronto-based artists, a few Saskatoon-based artists left on the schedule. And I'll probably be continuing on with more interviews throughout the rest of the year. Might take a small break after May. We'll see how that shakes out. Lots of new artists are hitting me up asking to talk. So exciting times ahead for Fly in Formation. Keep coming back here, twitch.tv/Doobyis. If you're looking to listen to these interviews in like audio only podcast form, mixcloud.com/Doobyis is the place you can do that. It's the only place that the audio only episodes are put up. After these things happen live on Twitch, I send them over to my YouTube. You can find it over there. Find me on the socials, Instagram, all that good stuff. Appreciate y'all for being here, and I will catch you next time.